So this is the second part of Unity Catalog. We already started. We already started basically yesterday, and we're discussing how the queries are done, what Unity Catalog does, and so on and so forth. And this is what we did. So continuing from there, basically. So Unity Catalog from the Meta store itself, you create the catalog, then you create the schema, or you can call it like a database, whatever name you want to use. And then under the schema, you have tables, views, volumes, and functions, right? You have other things as well in the meta store. But as far as data is concerned, tables are concerned, our files are concerned, this is what we'll be using. So uh, so this is the high level objects in the Unity catalog. And we'll see what the other things are as well, as they pertain to us as you move along, right? So now looking at that thing, the objects, and let's see how they work, right? So Unity Metastore, this over here, right? So this one over here. First thing you do is you create a catalog. And for example, for our programming assignment, the catalog, as I've mentioned, create, for example, PA1 catalog. Think of it as a business unit, as one part or specific application that is going to contain all the, So catalog can be, you can look at it from very different ways. A way to group all the schemas or the databases or everything that belongs to one business unit, something like that, right? You can think of it like that. So very similarly, we're going to look at these things as well. So for example, our current business or our current assignment is PA1. So we'll create the catalog and it'll have all the different objects dealing with this. Okay? So schemas, or you can call it database, whatever you want to name it, look at it as. And then you're going to have different objects in there. Right? So, and also we discuss Hive Metastore. Anytime you create a workspace, you have, for example, Hive Metastore already given to you for backward compatibility. It is given to you already. So any Databricks workspace, and we understand that this workspace belongs only to that workspace, right? This Metastore Hive belongs only to that workspace. Whereas the Unity catalog or the Unity Metastore can be associated with any different workspaces, right? So if you're working with some old data or for backward compatibility, you can continue to work with Hive Metastore, and you can do many different things, security and many different things, but it works only within that workspace, only with your account for that, for all practical purposes. But if you're dealing with your Unity catalog, you can share across organization. So that's the difference. So just like a database, when you create a schema inside Unity catalog, you can create tables, views, and all the different objects, right? Same thing what we saw over here. All these belong to your schema, and schemas belong to catalog. And one catalog can have different schemas or different databases. So now we start looking at what are the different things are, right? So let me open a Unity catalog. I'll open this one. And we'll say, for example, databricks.com. We log into our account. Log in. So when you go into catalog, we can create, for example, this was our assignment, for example, and you can create, it gives you the default and information schema by default. And what you can do is you can say, create, for example, catalog is there, volume, and all these things are there. Create schema, right? So schema is, as I mentioned, is like a database, right? So I can say, for example, bronze. And then I can have, for example, under my schema, I can create a table. The four things that we saw already. So we'll say volume or table. And you can see that it can create tables automatically. You can drop few things, and for example, it can create table automatically. Okay. So let's see if we can pick some Parquet file. So I will go into over here, and I have downloaded some files. So let's take a look. If you want to create it like that, git, we'll say Spark cluster, and then we have Spark data, delta table, and let's see. Let's see if we can drop one of these over here. This was, let's see, our table was CDC demo. So I can say delta CDC demo. And starting the warehouse, let's see advanced attributes, Spark is there, and catalog schema table name. Okay, so I create the table. Yeah, I think maybe it is the, let me see if I can pick some other, oh, I have actually other ones. Spark data, I can pick, okay, I have a Parquet file over here. I think that's better. So I will go and pick this Parquet file. Okay. It's uploading. Good. So this is much better. So flights, and it's going to create the table. Okay. And of course, you can create your own table. You can go and, for example, in the code, write the SQL to create your own table as well. So it's showing you all the different columns. For example, it's telling you it's a managed table. Data source is delta, right? It's showing you various different things, right? And sample data, it picks some of the data from it, and it'll show you some of the column, and then it can show you various different things, right? Enable deletion vectors is the important one. This is used, enable deletion vectors. This is for merge on read. If you don't enable deletion vectors, it does copy on write, where you have to use vacuum. And when you do enable deletion vectors, you basically do merge on read, right? You have two things. And merge on read is, if you remember, it is essentially where it creates many small files where it keeps only the changes, and then you have to do the optimize command, right? And then to coalesce or keep all the common values or same values, same partitions together, then you do the Z ordering on top of that. So that's where the whole structure comes in the enable deletion vectors, okay? This is to support the merge on read scenarios. If you do not have this on the table, if you don't have deletion vectors, then it does copy on write. Okay? So generally by default, for example, it will do um, uh, enable deletion vectors, Databricks. So it does it'll allow you to do merge on read basically, right? Which is very, very efficient. Okay? Then you can set the permissions as you saw that, for example, you can assign different people. For example, let's see, it is giving me this. Let's see if I can pick my own account. So I pick, for example, my own account. That's the only one in this one anyway. And you can assign. And generally, if you want to give whole thing, this is. And it is saying if you give all privileges, then you have to also grant this, and it does this one, okay? And then manage, and so it is a very high level, very strong permissions. Generally, for our data engineering scenarios, modify and select is more than sufficient, these three. You don't want to give this to everyone, but so this is, for example, if I remove it, right, I can apply tag, and this one, okay? It is saying that for tag, it is needed, let me see, needed to select. Yeah, that's fine. I think it is just giving it that. So I'll do this one, okay? And I already am the owner, so this is the lower level permissions. I still will be able to do the higher level things, right? It will see what is the highest level permission since I'm the owner anyway, right? And you can see the lineage and everything else as we talked about that this thing gives you. So right now nothing has been captured. I just create the table from the this thing, and nothing has been captured from the lineage perspective. And it tells you many different things: who used this table, and which are the frequent notebooks that use this table, and many different things, right? It does this. So a lot of very important information. It shows you who joined from this with this table and all that. Also in the lineage, it is showing both upstream and downstream. And right now, since we just created, there is nothing else, right? So as you can see, whatever we have seen so far, and we can do, for example, data quality monitoring and anomaly detection. We'll do, for example, let's see, configure this one, okay? Profile type, AMC snapshot. Maybe we'll just do this one, okay? Simple one, we'll do snapshot profile type. So anyway, so you can see Unity Catalog gives you and does many different things. Allows you to capture many different kind of data on your objects, right? Similarly, I can create, for example, if I go back into this one, into my catalog, PA2 bronze. Let me just refresh. You can see, sorry, it went into my, let me see if I can move this one, bronze over here. I will create a table over here, okay? Create table in this one, in bronze. I'll do the same thing over here, and it will upload. And once it's uploaded, again, same thing. Now it is in my right catalog, right? It was created in the wrong place. So I will do this one. Now it is in the right place, PA2, this one, this one. Okay? So this is the managed table. Managed table means when you create it yourself inside Databricks, right? So underlying data and the metadata, which you just saw, all of it is managed by Unity Catalog. Various different attributes, everything. It's Unity Catalog manages it. So it stores it within its own managed storage. Managed means that Unity Catalog is taking care of, or Databricks is taking care of the storage. It is configured underneath. You don't have to worry about it, right? It is being managed by the system for you. Okay. And underneath is probably some Azure or S3, wherever it is deployed, some kind of storage. Okay? So the important part in this one is in the managed table is if you drop table, delete the table, Unity Catalog deletes both the metadata and the physical files as well. Everything is gone. Of course, there are some soft delete policies that you need to take a look. Soft delete means in the storage, there is a policy. For example, if you delete something, it keeps it for 7 days or 10 days or 30 days, for example, whatever the policy is. After that, then it actually deletes. It's kind of a recycle bin kind of thing. And then come external tables, right? External tables are basically you point somewhere else, and it feels like your local table. So, sorry, guys, you should mention it to me. I was not sharing it. Just speak up. Yeah, now you're audible. Yeah. I mean, speak up, right? Just like in a class, speak up and let me know. मैं तो share ही नहीं की हुई थी screen. I didn't record किया हुआ मैंने सारा, but I was not sharing unfortunately. I didn't see. But anyway, so sorry, I didn't even realize कि share नहीं किया हुआ था. But anyway, so now I go back and for example, I can say create, and I can say, let's see, I can go back into my bronze. Where I can create table, right? And let's see. I want to data ingestion right now. I want to go back into catalog. And what I want to do is, for example, yeah, so idea is that I can go into, for example, and there are different connectors, right? This is what it shows you how to create external table, right? And you can connect to, for example, Azure, AWS, various different systems, and to connect the storage, right? And what this thing does, Unity Catalog or Databricks, that if you delete or do something, it only deletes the metadata from the Unity Catalog, the connectivity information and registration of it, but it doesn't delete the actual data in the remote storage, right? So only the pointer. So whatever I'm doing the configuration, it'll delete that configuration, but it'll not go and delete the data over there. Yeah. And the external tables are generally used to share data, to read-only scenarios, right? So it doesn't go and delete the remote data, but it's a very nice way to connect the various external data sources to bring everything and to join everything and to manage everything through Unity Catalog. Now, beside the tables, it also provides you what we call volume. Very similar kind of concept as we have in our operating system as well, in Linux and storage systems, right? Where we want to store files. So you can have, for example, files, for example, a video, audio, Parquet files, CSVs, right? Where you're storing everything as it is coming in. Very similar to what you have in your programming assignment, right? So again, you have managed volume, Databricks managed storage, you delete, it deletes everything. And similarly, you have external volume. You can connect to storage in, for example, AWS, Azure, GCP, wherever, and you provide the credentials, and you create the credentials, and then using those credentials is you just register the external volume. So important part in this one is that between managed volume and external volume, similarly to what we have seen already in tables, right? Managed tables versus external tables, right? When you delete, if it's managed, everything is gone, and external, only metadata, the registration information in Unity Catalog is gone, right? That is the idea. And again, what is a use case? Is if you have data in some other systems and when you read it, you want to read that data as it is accumulated or whatever, right? You can read it from there. And this is the way to share. Some other systems want to share the data. You can register that volume or that storage as an external volume in Unity Catalog. And the idea of registration in Unity Catalog is that nobody has to search for it. You can just go into Unity Catalog, look at the volume, regardless of wherever it is, right? And then simply start using it, whether you want to read data or whatever you want to write based on your permissions, right? So this is what it is, right? Volumes. You can create, and this is primarily for non-structured or semi-structured data, right? NoSQL kind of data, where we have semi-structured JSON, CSV, XML, those kind of things, audio, video files, all will go into volume. Okay? And this is what we were discussing. Unity Catalog allows you to deal with all kinds of data in a universal fashion. And this is how it does it, right? कि आपने जो कुछ भी करना है, आप पहले volume create करोगे, and when it registers the locations, whether it's tables, volumes, views, whatever, then it allows you to set permissions. So आपको underneath, you're not able to see anything. It's managing all of that, but you can find these objects from Unity Catalog. You can search for them, tables, volumes, views, functions, whatever, right? But the interesting part is Unity Catalog will force all the enforcement, right, regarding security and everything else. So that's the beauty of this whole thing, right? So you can say, for example, I can say, I'll go back into my Databricks environment, workspace. And this is you can do in your programming assignment as well, right? So if I go back and let's see if I can create notebook. So I want to make it bigger. So I can say, for example, I can say create volume PA1 dot, and we have, I can, for example, schema and volume name. Okay, so we have, for example, PA1. And what was our volume? Let's go back. I think PA1 dot, our volume was the bronze. I can say files. For example, I can say volume is to store, let's say, telemetry. This is the volume. And I can put, for example, volume underscore telemetry, something like that, right? And then I can start copying files and all that, or whatever, right, in this volume. This is the volume that is storing telemetry data, for example. And I can make it more explicit name and whatnot. And similarly, you can create external volume. I can say create external volume. Again, same thing. And location is, for example, this is for Azure storage. Okay. So you provide the required location and all that, and you set up credentials and all that. And this is how you can delete. So external, you provide the full path, and you need to, first of all, how do you do the security on top of it? I'll show you in a second, right? How do you do that? make sure over here. So now, for example, if you go back into our catalog, and you can see this was in PA1 bronze, and now you can see that beside my table, I have a volume also registered, and I can put whatever. I can go over here, and I can say upload to volume, right? And you can drop. It says maximum size is 5 GB per file. This thing I can upload, or I can, whatever I need to do. Health data. I'm going to drop it over here. I'm going to put customers data as well over here, and I will upload. And you can do similar to what we have done. I've asked you in the PA1. You can create volume from the code just like I did, and you can then copy the files as well, right? From the New York City taxi data. और उसका भी मैंने आपको बताया था कि there is data is already available within Databricks in the data sets, right? उसकी मैंने command भी आपको दी थी. You can use that to copy stuff into the volume, right? It will be very, very quick. And then from there, you can start your bronze layers and everything else from there. So when you're dealing with managed tables, it is pretty straightforward. But when you deal with external tables and files in cloud storage, just like I showed you in the example for external volumes, you must have some credentials, right? So what you do is you create something called external location and external and credentials. ये दो चीजें आपको you need to create. And then the combination of this allows you to create external table and external volume. हो सकता है मेरा table or volume is sitting in Azure. I just need one set of credentials. So I can create one credential and two locations, right? And I can do this. So Unity catalog में अगर आप जाएंगे, so this is done. I can go back into my catalog and I go back and let's see. I want to go back. I'll open this, go back to catalog. And what I can do is, for example, I can create an excellent location, okay? I can do this. I mean, everything that I'm doing through this one, location name, you provide the bucket, and you can credential, right? So you create a credential, and it'll ask you, for example, you can grab it, or usually there is a string. ये जो है cloud-based storage है, आपको पूरा string देते हैं encrypted, that you can use it to do these kind of things, right? यहाँ पे इसका usually एक URL होता है. यहाँ पे आप Azure का भी कर सकते हैं. Let me see what is R2 or cloud service like Cloudflare का storage है, right? And you can do, for example, so in the free version they're giving you R2, which is Cloudflare, and S3, which is this one, right? But usually you can do in Azure as well in this one. Okay? Advanced option, let me see if they're giving you something else. No, that's fine. So this is what you do, right? आप उसका storage pick करते हो, कौन सा location है, कौन सा provider है storage का, आप credentials बनाते हो उसके, right? और credentials में जो बताते हो आप उसके अंदर essentially उसका एक string connection string होता है, and you get it from your storage provider, whether it's S3, Azure, or Cloudflare, whatever it is, right? And that's all, right? So it acts as it's a location managed by Databricks. Or इसके अंदर nothing much is there, right? What happens is you use it just like a normal storage, and if you delete this thing, it only the जो connection information से रखी हुई है, that's what gets deleted, nothing else, right? उसके अंदर, for example, you can see a credential आप बना सकते हो that you can use, and various different things, right? So nothing special, but it will not go and delete the remote data, right? That is the important part. So this is what external location credentials are, and you can do this one. Yeah. So this is how you register all these things which are not needed for the managed tables. अभी हमने managed table बनाया है, हमें किसी चीज़ की जरूरत नहीं पड़ी थी. So you can say, for example, आप storage credential आप बनाएंगे सबसे पहले, and you can have many different credentials. अगर आपने data pick कर रहे हो from different organizations, you can create multiple set of credentials, for example, to pick the data from their containers, from their storage buckets, right? Then you create external location. Okay, for example, मेरी location है, whether it's in S3, R2, AWS, GCP, wherever. And when you create external location, वो कहता है जी आपने इसको connect किस credentials को map करना है इसके साथ के, जब आप इसको connect करें कौन से credential use होंगे, तो आपके पहले credential बनाए हुए होते हैं आपने, you can combine them, right? Because whenever it needs to create the location, it must be able to connect. तो आप उस पर जो existing credentials होते हैं आप उसको देते हो, and then you start just using it. You can create tables, you can create directories, whatever you want to do, right? तो ये basic commands हैं आपकी essentially. और यहाँ पे ADLS is Azure Data Lake Storage, right? So this is what it is, right? And it gets registered. तो जो भी नया user आ रहा है, if I say if they know कि आपने इस location से pick करना data, they don't have to worry about क्या उसकी credentials हैं, कहाँ पे, and all that. You as an administrator has already configured that external location, and somebody can simply go and query the latest data and start using it, right? Whether it's CSV, Parquet, whatever kind of data it is. So it's a very powerful functionality which was not there in Hive and other catalogs that जिसके पास थी पहले Spark के पास, right? So very, very nice thing. Or again, you can do that on premises as well. I mean, you have Unity catalog, you can configure it in your system and connect to all the external systems, right? You can pull data from the cloud and all that from various different, whoever is giving you the data. Then what happens is, आप कहते हो मेरे पास आ गया, I want to be able to share this data. So by default, Delta has created what we call Delta Lake, Delta sharing. And Unity Catalog allows you to publish your data and set up the credentials. And then very easily somebody can read your data as well. जिस तरह अभी हमने connect किया है from a storage, remote storage, और वहां से credential लेके हमने data pull कर रहे हैं Databricks के अंदर, इसी तरह हमारे पास जो cleaned up data है, सारा कुछ है, we can also publish it outside, right? So this is Delta has by default Delta sharing server. So it does not matter what it is, who is picking, as long as they implement the protocol, which is given in your libraries already, Python and various different, you can pull all the data, right? आपको copy करने की जरूरत नहीं है. You can just read in real time and then save it and do whatever you want to do, right? And pretty much every system allows you to do that. ये बड़ी अहम चीजें हैं when you're doing architecting systems that allow you to, for example, share the data. And you can share your data with anybody else as well using Delta sharing. So it's a very powerful techniques to design and architect system, right? We should know क्या features और क्या चीजें चल रही हैं और किस तरह, what is the best way to do these kind of things. तो अगेन यूनिटी कैटलॉग में आप रजिस्टर करते हो, एंड यूनिटी कैटलॉग में आप उसके वो सेटअप करते हो बेसिकली क्रेडेंशियल्स, सिक्योरिटी सेटअप करते हो. एनीबडी हु कम्स एंड रीड, फॉर एग्जांपल, कैन डू दिस काइंड ऑफ थिंग, राइट? तो फॉर एग्जांपल, इफ समबडी नीड्स टू डू डेटाबेस वर्कस्पेस, आप जा रहे हो फॉर एग्जांपल, इट कैन नॉट, फॉर एग्जांपल यहाँ पे आप कोई क्लाइंट आ रहा है, इट कैन गो एंड रीड, राइट, from the same thing based on the Delta sharing protocol. But this one, it doesn't use that protocol. It uses the internal connectivity directly through Unity Catalog. That's what they're trying to separate. कि जब Delta sharing होती है कि उसी कंटेनर की, उसी बकेट की, right? It is over a different protocol. उसको टोकन मिलता है, for example, एक brief token मिलता है, and it connects over that protocol to pick the data, right? So that's the idea, essentially. And you can do that. You can set up your own Delta sharing server and you can share the data with anybody else as well. I'll try to see if I can do a demo of this one as well. So what happens is the protocol, the delta sharing protocol, right? What you do is you provide them a short-lived URL. This is essentially the key thing. And in this one is all the information is contained. कि क्या security token होगा, किस table के ऊपर permission है, and all those things, right? And then when you go into that using that URL, you are able to pick that, connect to that storage directly and read whatever based on your permission, right? So you can share, for example, delta part files जो आपकी बनती हैं, small files, full table partitions, whatever it is, right? You can share it. You can do all independent, very seamless sharing, right? So client doesn't need to know anything. It has nothing to do with Databricks or anything, right? As long as you can read Parquet files, that's all you need, right? So everything is happening again through Unity Catalog. So they have built this layer where whatever functionality you want to do, it takes care of all the security of all the systems, right? That's the idea. So let me just see. I think I'll fix the. So you have, for example, delta sharing client. It can query in real time whatever data is changing, right? So as you are writing, so source table, it is doing something. It has some, for example, आपका source table होता है, then को filter करके आप जो share करना होता है, this is what you do. Some specific set of data, right? Some subset of data. And that gets published through delta sharing server, right? So it might be based on the queries and whatnot. It is keep on incrementing based on changes, and the client can keep on reading the data that is changing, right? And whatnot. So the point is architecture is very straightforward. आपको table लेके उसका subset data you can publish, and anybody you can give the token, and they can basically do this one. Okay? Then there's another one also, another scenario where you have Databricks to Databricks sharing, D2D sharing, right? Then you don't need to worry about, for example, whether you are in different cloud. Databricks is everywhere. Databricks is in Azure. Databricks is in AWS, GCP, everywhere, right? So you can have in different regions, whatever, but as long as this is Databricks, you can have Databricks to Databricks. It's much simpler, right? That you can share, for example, directly. So Unity Catalog allows you to share between Databricks environments, between different organizations, different companies, this indirectly. Okay? So it has a very efficient protocol where you can do these kind of things, right? So whether you have AWS and Azure, company A, company B, for example, Microsoft, Google, whatever, right? Region 1, region 2, doesn't really matter, right? Wherever you are, as long as you're on Databricks, different region, different cloud provider, different company, does not matter. It understands Databricks, and it can do very efficient sharing between two Databricks environments, right? And when we talk about delta sharing, right, then that scenario is you don't care what the third-party data platform is. That is non-Databricks. Of course, Databricks can read also, but generally you have much more efficient weight between Databricks to Databricks. So when you're going from Databricks to non-Databricks, then you do delta sharing. Okay, and third-party tools, you get the link, and you are able to read the data as it is changing. You can read on a specific job trigger, whatever, right? Every few minutes, and you can get all the latest data that is being shared. Right? So it's a very, very sophisticated, nice, and seamless technology to share data between Databricks and Delta Lake, right? So that's all pretty much. इसकी अपनी मैं आपको इसमें documentation है थोड़ी सी. Please read it, and essentially our quiz next Saturday will be up to here. Okay. इसके बाद I will cover couple of let me just stop this.